So I read Nightbitch by Rachel Yoder. Am I allowed to say Nightbitch? Are the TikTok algorithm gods going to get horribly upset with me if I keep saying Nightbitch? I feel like I'm getting Middlesex flashbacks. Maybe if I put it into the context of the story, like Nightbitch is the female dog that our main character thinks she's turning into, you know? She's becoming a bit of a nocturnal animal. So when I say Nightbitch, I don't mean it as a slur. TikTok gods, please do not damage my video's engagement. I'm talking about a female dog. But let's actually talk about the book. This was the most. This book was doing so much. I was getting scaffolding flashbacks. It reminded me of a lot of things actually. It was weird, not in the way I usually like. I'll explain. This is going to be a deep cut, but remember that episode of Friends where Joey is having a Days of Our Lives cast party, and he doesn't want the other friends to know about it, so he gives them tickets to like a dramatic one-woman show about what it means to be a woman, you know? That's this book, okay? That one-woman show, I'll play the clips. Rachel Yoder.
Why don't you like me? Chapter 1. My first period.
I don't want to downplay the social issues that this book addresses because I do agree with them. Like, yes, motherhood is one of the most difficult things there is to do. My mother is a saint. I love her. The patriarchy is real. The oppression of women is real. Love all of that and what you're saying. It's the way she goes about it. There's no subtext. The book hitting you over the head. Real aggressive. Real like, isn't my story the most sob-storious? Like, feel bad for me, reader. Feel bad for me. It was like, oh, you feel like reading this, it's one of those books where you feel like you're the main character's therapist.
I bet you're all thinking that now would be a really great time for an intermission, huh?
Oh, yes, God, yes.
Well, you're not gonna get one. Because in life, there are no intermissions, people.
Maybe just commit to being clearer with your husband and most of your issues would evaporate.
Chapter 7. Divorce is a 4-letter word. How could he leave me?
While I agree that her husband could be doing more around the house and he is a bit emotionally unavailable, she never really expresses that to him. And the one time that she does, he actually is like, oh, that's a fair point. Yeah, I'll start taking the kid to bed instead of you doing it every night. And it's like, see what happens when you communicate? Like, I don't know. I just think it was a lot of emotion for like, you have shelter, you have food on the table, your bills are paid, your child is healthy, your child loves you. In fact, your husband loves you as well, as we find out later on. Like, I don't know. You feel a bit ungrateful. Maybe count your blessings. I would compare this to Cujo, funnily enough, not just because both books are very, like, doggy, but you go into both of them, or at least I went into both of them, with the expectation of a gnarly beast horror. And there's bits of it, but it is far and few between an aggressive, midlife crisis style, although in this book she's like in her 30s, so I don't know why she's so like down and out about everything. But yeah, it's this depressing like, oh, marriage isn't quite what I thought it would be. Oh, am I over the hill? Oh, am I never going to pursue my creative career goals? Like, oh. When you market your book as Nightbitch and you tell me that it is wacky and that it is gnarly, I better be getting the bloodlust. You know what I mean? Like, spoiler alert, there's one mangled cat. Like, I don't think any actual people die in this. It's like, what? At least Cujo killed 3 people. Like, what is she doing? What is she doing with her life? Like, she doesn't even know how to dog properly. And when I tell you there is an entire side plot about a pyramid scheme that goes nowhere. For the longest time, she keeps seeing these dogs. There's like a golden retriever, a border collie, and like a hound. and they keep appearing together, which is obviously not normal. Like, dogs do not congregate without owners and just walk around in like organized groups in the middle of the night. Like, I don't think that's a thing. Like, maybe it is. I don't know, it felt weird because they were clearly like domesticated dogs. Like, she's talking about how the golden retriever smells of strawberries, like it's had its fur shampooed, but like, so they're not wild then, but then where's their owner? Like, the whole thing's very weird, and she thinks that the other mums at her like daycare sessions that she goes to are the other dogs, and that they're all turning into dogs. But no, that whole like, that would have been interesting at least. That whole idea gets dashed completely, and it's like, oh no, the mums are just part of this pyramid scheme where they're selling herbs that never, of course, never takes off the ground, and we find out the main mum is in like thousands of dollars worth of debt, and it's like, ugh, why is this in the book, Rachel Yoder? Why are these the details? Do you think these are the details that people want? For me, at least, the reading experience felt rather exclusionary because she's talking about motherhood, but not in a way that invites you in as someone who has never had a child. Like, it feels very like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, as if you reading this are also supposed to be a mother. And I'm sure for some people that is the case. And this book probably has a lot more meaning to them. But because that's not me, I felt like such a huge part of this book's tapestry was just inaccessible to me and like never will be. So what am I supposed to do with it? Again, much like Scaffolding, I don't know the date of this one when it was written, but it feels very derivative of My Year of Rest and Relaxation. But much like Scaffolding, I don't think this author appreciates what Atessa Moshfegh does to make that book work, you know? Like, yes, this book also has the antisocial aspect, it has the obsession with like modern art and like trying to make a legacy based on like creative endeavours, like sure, and that sort of idea of pent up women's rage, all of that felt borrowed from My Year of Rest and Relaxation. But as I said in my Scaffolding review, the way Atessa Moshfegh writes, you don't mind it. Like, you actually see a lot of the things from her side of the main character, even though she would probably be a terrible person to be around in real life. This was the opposite. This, I was like, I feel like I'm dating you. You're so much. Like, the amount of screeching in this book, the amount of complaining, I was so tired. I was like, you're giving me a headache. You're not even a real person. Like, how are you doing this? When the title Nightbitch, she goes on this whole rant about the word bitch and how it's, like, patriarchal and, like, there's so many more slurs to describe a woman than there are to describe a man. And I'm like, yeah, I agree, it's messed up. But also reclaim it, you know? Like, in modern popular culture, I don't even look at bitch as a slur anymore. I feel like bitch, whenever I see it used now, it's usually like a term of endearment. Maybe that's because I'm looking at it as like a queer person, but I don't know. I think bitch is fabulous. Like, really? Really? There was definitely a point, I would say about past the midway point, where I was enjoying it more. And I was like, oh, okay, I could turn around on this book. Like, it was kind of giving me a bit of Our Wives Under the Sea. I was like, oh, you know, like, this thing is happening to her. She can't control it. It's very strange. Like, okay. And then we get to the ending, I was like, oh, this really dived off a cliff in the way that I did not want it to. Like, oh, all of the supernatural elements, it was all a con. You know, like, none of it was real. It was all about her state of mind and her just wanting to let go from her oppressive role as a housewife and a mother. I was like, really? And then she turns the whole thing into like an art show, into a one-woman show, you know. Chapter 1, my first period, very that.
Why don't you like me? Chapter 1, my first period.
Gosh. This book, for a book as short as it was, I can't earnestly recommend it. I feel like I aged 10 years reading it. It was an awful lot. Like, there's a way of expressing these very true messages while also being a good storyteller and also getting the reader on your side, instead of making them feel like you're sitting down to some sort of lecture where they're screeching at you. Like, ugh. No, Rachel Yoder. No, 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 no.